So I have a rule. Don't make a video you're not excited for. Today we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad Kills the Live Service game. Primarily my point is this. Suicide Squad Kills the Live Service, I deem it that because it represents the final straw for a particular brand of live service games. For many years, we as gamers have been promised something that's turned out to be a lie. We've been promised that somehow a studio was going to marry the finite nature of a single player story and that particular framework with a live service framework, right? It is your single player story, your big bombastic cutscenes, your characters, your narrative development, everything that you love about a great single player story, but now with the added value of a live service framework, ongoing game, coming back again and again, seasons and battle passes and skins and cosmetics and new weapons and drops and looter shooters and everything like that. We've been promised that a few times. We've been promised that with Anthem. We've been promised that with Marvel's Avengers. We've been promised that even with Redfall. Just to name a few. And now I think Suicide Squad was the last straw. I finally believe that we as gamers are ready to just call out bullshit whenever a person brings this particular scenario to us. Because from where I'm standing, the two are diametrically opposed. You cannot truly ask a single player narrative, which by definition must end, with and marry that with a live service framework, which by its very nature is pretty much infinite, you know? And Suicide Squad, I think, was the final disappointment. I think gamers are now finally ready to say, you know what, this just doesn't work. Companies and businesses, I think they're still going to give it one more college try. I really do believe that there will be one more such a game that is going to somehow promise this world that somehow this is going to happen. Now, I will say an honorable mention. Naughty Dog's Last of Us multiplayer game that they were supposed to have released but they cancelled. That had also promised that somehow we were supposed to get a live service game but have the Naughty Dog type of storytelling. I was always curious as to how that was going to work, and I must admit, I was looking forward to seeing what the project will come out like, because if anyone could do it, and it wasn't BioWare, and it wasn't Rocksteady, and it wasn't, Crystal Dynamics, or any of the other, kind of like people that threw their hat in the ring, then perhaps it could have been, it could have been Naughty Dog. Out of all studios, I had the most hope for Naughty Dog. However, sitting from where I am standing right now, I I think I'm glad that they cancelled it. I am because I doubt they would have made it work. I truly do. I truly do. But in any case, let's talk a little bit about Suicide Squad Kill Their Live Service. Now, before we go on to talk about it, one more thing I need to say. Back around November, when I first saw the first trailer for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I was actually looking forward to the project. I believe that it had potential. I remember defending it on Podworks podcast the first time because it was like, who the hell cares about the Suicide Squad? And I'm like, listen, I still believe this, by the way. The premise is good. I mean, talk about an underdog story. The premise is rich with potential. I fully believe that. I still believe that to this day. I think the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is a good concept. I truly do. Narratively wise, it is bursting with potential. However, within a live service framework, it dies and it fails, and that's evidently what happened. But the concept itself, the the seed, the core of it, that's still good. Like another person could give it another go. They just would have to make a single player game, right? Or at least a finite co-op game. But I believed, in spite of my conviction that this game was going to be garbage, and I said it back in November. Again, the first trailer, I still had hope. Then I saw the second trailer. This was the one before. I think they kind of slowed it down. No, it was the purple. It was a purple helicopters and a purple tanks trailer. I think it was at E3 or something, and I was like, oof, that's bad. But they took it back to the drawing board, and I was about to I was about to award it the garbage stamp, but it took it back, and I'm like, okay, all right, not yet, not yet. And then finally, I saw the trailer. They showed us the story trailer this time in November, and we're gonna go through it because I feel that the way that I express myself, with the amount of conviction and the amount of strength behind those convictions, and the I give no leeway to any other opinion to be valid because I know I'm right. So I feel that people then take that and they think, oh, he's just obstinate. He doesn't understand it or he refuses to see it for what it is. They think that somehow I decided to hate on the game and that was it. That was all. There was no thinking, there was no thought, there was no introspection behind it. And it's like, no, the strength of my conviction comes from the fact that I have gone through that process. I have judged the game for what it is, not what I wanted it to be. I have judged the game as it was presented as Suicide Squad kill the Justice League. I am not somehow offended that they killed the Justice League. And in fact, I think it was overblown, this whole thing where they disrespected, the characters. It was overblown. Not that it wasn't a good point. It's a good point. It is. It's a valid point. But it is overblown. Like the whole when people try to like somehow conflate a voice actor passing away with the whole this is the last time we'll see him in game. It's like, no, guys, like, come on, those things are coincidental. The game isn't worse because the character, so the voice actor passed away. The game is bad because it's bad. Like, it doesn't need this extra weight from this real life event happening. It would be like saying that, oh, somehow a city that looks a lot like Metropolis underwent a flood and somehow it is, I don't know, politically incorrect to somehow have a game set in a city like Metropolis. It's like, well, no, the game it's its own product and it deserves to live kind of like within its own bubble because it is a work of fiction. And the actor, I think Kevin Conroy, who acted that part, he knew what he was getting into. They didn't force him at gunpoint. So yeah, nobody could have predicted that he would pass away tragically, but it's not the game's fault and it doesn't have to bear that weight on top of everything else that it has to bear on its own. So yeah, I think it was overblown, especially that, or when people say that what is it, what was his face, the Australian Boomerang, Captain Boomerang, they said that, oh, somehow he pissed on what was it, the Flash's corpse. He doesn't actually pee on his corpse. He doesn't. He goes to do it and then other people stop him. So again, like, the game is so awful all on its own. You don't need to, throw in the thing. So again, what I'm trying to say is this. My point with the Suicide Squad is that I had an open mind. I looked at it for what it was. I saw what was put in front of my face. And then after that, I was like, yeah, that's garbage. That's it. I feel like people somehow make it either more or less complicated than that. It's not complicated, but it is a process and I do go through it. So when I come to you and I then tell you that it's garbage, it's not because somehow I refuse to see the benefits. It's like, no, it's just, it is garbage, like that's the same thing with Redfall. That's the same thing with Starfield. That's the same thing with Suicide Squad. That's the same thing with Halo Infinite. It's not that I hate these games. It's just that you look at them and you're like, yeah, this isn't up to standard. And if something is not up to standard and it falls so far below the standard, it is garbage. Even if it being garbage is still better than other worse games. Like, it's fine. I guess there's levels to garbageness, and it isn't a garbage bin, but there are things that are far more putrid in that bin as well, I guess. Like, Suicide Squad is a better game than Anthem. Duh. Suicide Squad is a better game than Andromeda. I mean, seriously, BioWare has been killing me, guys. Killing me. I'd even say this. As much as I think that Suicide Squad is trash, it is still better than the Mass Effect 3 ending. Like, 100,000%. I would never play Mass Effect 3 I would never play Mass Effect 3's ending again. Like, I think I would just stop before the final mission if I ever even let myself touch that title. I refuse to play the Mass Effect trilogy now because I know how it ends. That ending robbed something far more important to me than the Suicide Squad. Like, I don't care about the Suicide Squad. All that being said, believe it or not, I still believe that the Suicide Squad will be commercially successful. Which I know might sound strange to say after all of the preamble I just gave you, but it is true. And the reason, so over here we look at Matt Piscatella generate top 10 best-selling games, and look at that, number 3 is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And I believe that this will be successful. Why? Because Cyberpunk happened. Cyberpunk was a failure in every single way, from a product to a promise, but it was a tremendous success in the one metric that mattered the most for these companies, and that was commercially. And also critically, but that one doesn't matter the most, like it doesn't matter to them that much. Like if the game is a 60, but they sell 60 million copies, like trust me, they don't care. Right? Like take a look at Michael Bay movies. Like as long as it makes money, they don't care. So over here we have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, I'm saying to you a whole bunch of things, and before I get to the discussion, I just want to prove that what I say is true. So over here, let me prove it, right? So here is me, November 16th, 2023, and this is after the show. They came back with it, and they were like, okay, now we're ready to, this is not the first trailer, it's not the second trailer, I think it's technically the third round, and they were like showing us the story. And I looked at this story, and I was like, this is garbage. Let's just watch it past Emmanuel break it down for you. So we begin with this secret elevator tunnel that takes you into a very not secret museum / exhibition hall, which makes no sense because this is clearly aimed for public consumption, right? But then, lo and behold, you fast forward, and then your cast of characters happen to find behind glass that is not bulletproof all of the tech that they will need in order to, have better traversal options. So I guess any guest to this museum / Hall of Justice could have at any time gotten pseudo-like superpowers. Yeah, cool. Now, listen, at this time, I didn't know what this Hall of Justice was, okay? I'm not like a DC Comics guy, so I don't know who built it and everything. But I just want to quickly insert here that in the lore of the game, Batman has been with the Justice League for a few years now. You're telling me that Batman, a guy that is like the most security paranoid guy, just left these gadgets that could turn any normal human into a bona fide meta-human. He just left them behind, just break the glass in case of emergency, I guess. And another thing, just a very quick thing. This Speedfall gauntlet over here that this guy is using, it should melt his bones. Let me tell you why. Because the thing about the Flash is that it's not that he's just fast. It's that his body's DNA is actually modified and changed to be able to handle the speeds and everything else that he generates. This guy, a regular schmegular human, running that quickly, just the G-force alone would knock him out. Let alone just like mush his intestines and all of his organs. But you know what? That's fine. I guess we'll just have the most colossal phallic suspension of disbelief. I guess that's just what we're supposed to do. Sorry. Let's let past me give you a little bit more. This game is already lame. Makes absolutely no sense. And then they get out of here and they are... Where are they? They're coming out of Metropolis. Let's just skip forward. And they are somehow surprised that everything is gone to shit, even though they should have known that from the mission briefing. Also, they complain later that... Oh yeah, in the game, they receive no mission debrief. None at all. No briefing, no... Sorry. All of the guns are shit, which means that they have to find Cobblepot, which means that Amanda Waller's plan was to hope that they make it in, hope that they stumble across a secret tunnel to a not secret public exhibition hall in order to have some obviously displayed and clearly stealable artifacts that were going to enhance the traversal option so that they will have any hope of winning. Which is so convenient, isn't it? Isn't it convenient that the very tech that they needed was just behind that case? And again, it's not like they had to go into a bat cave, or into a vault, or had any plan whatsoever other than we'll just stumble across... Oh my goodness. How did you guys watch this trailer back in November and not know this game was going to be garbage? How? But then it gets worse. You see, they get captured by the Green Lantern right here. But he's been corrupted. And instead of just killing them, he takes them for a sightseeing tour around the new Metropolis. So you see, I had an argument with Lodo from from Reforge Gaming, which wasn't really an argument. I was texting, he was talking. It's not an even playing. But I told him that the very first thing that is wrong with this game is plot armor. And back in November, from the first trailer that mattered, talking about the narrative beats, it's so obvious to see that if this guy is evil, why is he taking them on the sightseeing? Does he do that for every other human? No. But why does he do it for these humans? And Shark. Because they happen to be your main characters and you just can't. Like, bro, the plot armor in this game is so thick. It is thicker than that skull in the sky. For no reason. Referring to the game. Then the Flash shows up and he's clearly not corrupted yet. You know? Oh, and all of the civilians have been turned into these purple goop monsters. Which makes no sense. And it's just so boring and generic. And have I mentioned that this city is just extremely drab? Like, I don't even look forward to this game. This game is going to be garbage. I'm just going to call it now. It's going to be garbage. I don't even hope for better. I've just accepted the fact that we're not going to get Batman Arkham again. This is garbage. This is trash. And I'm going to be proven right again. I'm just going to call it now from the trailer. There we go. From the trailer. From the very first time that we saw this game, I already knew it was going to be garbage. And I think I broke it down in a subsequent video. Like, there is a video on my channel where I break it down further, all the things that I've wrong with this particular thing. But you know what? Let me do a little more. Because you see, when you buy a premium car, for example, it is common for people to have, the car door sound test. When you slam the door closed and you hear how it sounds. Like, it's supposed to have like a good thunk to it. Now, does the sound of the car door tell you everything about a car? No. Is it scientific? Not at all. But the thing is, it is a surprisingly accurate representation of quality. Because the idea is that if you built a car so well that you had the time to design and engineer a door that is solid enough to give you a good, reassuring sound, like a nice rezonking thunk, then there is a good chance that the rest of the car is well made, because the door isn't going to be the first thing on your list. The door is not like the most important item in the car at all. So, let alone is the door not the most important part, but the door sound? Definitely not. So by the time that you have gotten down to making the door sound good when it closes, you've done pretty much everything else in the car. So when I was thinking about this moment when they go and they break the glass and then they find this conveniently placed, armada of technology that they can just use so conveniently for themselves, I was like, that's not the car door sound though. And I found it. I found the car door sound because the car door sound happens earlier, but it wasn't in the trailer, so you can't blame me for it. But the car door sound happens in the full game, and it happens quicker than this moment. Let me show you the car door sound moment, okay? And let me set it up for you. So over here, we're going to see Amanda Waller walk into Arkham. She has the four of them wheeled, on these trailers, on these contraptions. I'm going to mute it because I don't want to run the risk or whatever. Matter of fact, I'm not going to mute it. Let's listen to it.
I could be your way out.
This is a car door moment.
Chance to do some good. And
Hey, Harley Quinn, Arkham Gazette. Just a quick question. What's with the frickin' shark?
I would be happy to introduce myself.
that won't be necessary, King Shark. This is a microbomb injector from our friends at LexCorp. Stick it in your target's neck, and it's good night. You want this to be where you take your last breath? No? Then help me. I only need one of you. As for the other three, you are dead already. So, show me what you got.
Okay, so that's the car. You heard that thunk when she slapped? When she slapped that thing on the table? That was a car door sound moment. Do you know why? Because it makes no sense. Okay, so first of all, she says that she only needs one of them. That's not true. One of them cannot do anything against what they have to go up against, right? The second thing is that she already knows she needs all four of them. That's why there's only four of them. If she just knew I needed four, but I didn't know which ones I wanted, there would be like 16 villains over here, and then she would have put this test, and then only four would have survived. But this makes no sense whatsoever. And the whole thing is stupid because King Shark, from the lore perspective, which is a thing that this game does not respect, he is supposed to be strong enough to basically kill and murder all of them. Like, he has no trouble killing people. How did she know that he wasn't going to kill all of these three? It's not like we know that somehow in Arkham, when they were together, they were buddies, so he wouldn't kill them. None of this plan makes sense. And this is the Kyle Dorsar moment. If you cannot get this part right, the very beginning, the very premise of how they become the Suicide Squad, nothing you've written is good. And again, this was not in the trailers, but I knew watching the other moment, I knew watching this moment that this game wasn't going to be good. And one more thing, I said that it was going to be, this is me proving that again, I said it was going to be garbage. This was on November 29, so, you know, I committed to it. And then finally over here, on February 2nd, 2024, I said this. I've been saying it's been garbage for months. I do think it will be a commercial success and find an audience though. One of those trash games that many will be proud to defend and deem themselves special for liking it, until it collapses and we all move on. And that is exactly what is happening here. There are few people who have happened to given, this game a chance. What do? They get on the defensive for it. They pretend that somehow you guys are haters, or you don't think about it, or blah 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 blah. They come up with a lot of excuses. At the end of the day, even the few people that bought it, they are eventually all going to leave it, and are going to realize that it was garbage from the get-go. And once again, I was proven right. And one thing I just want to make clear with you guys, I'm always going to tell you when I was right. I will always say I told you so. I'm not above that. That's why I'm right. Duh. So, let's keep moving. Back to the point. The initial point of this video was to tell you that Suicide Squad kills the live service. I call it that because, again, this was the last straw. I think as a gaming community, now we are just moving forward with believing that if you're going to come and tell us that somehow a live service game is supposed to deliver both a single player style narrative and a live service framework, we are not going to believe you anymore. So I hope that companies will see that, and instead of trying to give us this particular brand of live service games, they're going to try to give us brands of live service games that have actually worked. Some people will claim that something like Destiny has successfully done it, but I think Destiny has actually failed to deliver a good narrative more times than it has achieved it. Because every single time that I look into Destiny, what are the moments that people talk about? Oh, the Taken King, and I think there was like one expansion for Destiny 2 that people really, really loved. Aside from that, people pretty much hate the narrative in most of Destiny's expansions and single player campaigns that released when the game was released. So Destiny has kind of had its up and downs, but I think that most people now, they know that, hey, you don't go to Destiny because you want this amazing narrative. No, you get to Destiny because the gameplay is great, and sometimes, once in a while, they actually deliver a great narrative. So it's like, whoa, fantastic. Destiny aside, I don't think there's any other example that has worked. Fallout 76, I think, it came out without it, and then it tried to add it, and people have mixed feelings about it. So again, it's not really what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is, again, much like Suicide Squad, coming out and promising us, the Earth and the Moon from the get-go, and that just doesn't happen. Again, I think that there will be one more college try. I think that the company will go ahead and try one more time, and then they'll be like, hey, yeah, no, we can do this. And I'm going to be like, no, you can't. And I think I'll be proven right once again. Okay, so that was it. That was what Suicide Squad kills the live service games. I'm really happy. I'm really happy that this is finally done. I truly am. Because now when I see it happen again, I'm going to be like, you know what? Nope. I already know where this is going. Let single player games be single player games. Let live service games be live service games. The live service games have tended to be the most successful are games where the story all the lore is not the main attraction. And we certainly don't expect it to be told like a traditional single player narrative. You know, think about Helldivers too, right? Blowing up right now. But that doesn't really have like a traditional story, you know. It has a premise. The premise is that you are, you know, one of the greatest fighting forces in the galaxy and you work for Super Earth and you're going to expand the empire and defend it, you know, for democracy. That's a premise. It's not a story, you know. When you think about even Fortnite, I think Fortnite has lore and it has moments of narrative, you know, like when it has its concerts and its black hole events that change the map. It definitely has like key moments from which you could like pull a narrative thread, but it's definitely not in a traditional style of a, you know, like a book. You would read a book about Fortnite and that's the story that you see in it. That's not it. Overwatch is famous for its lore, right? But again, doesn't have the story. I mean, Overwatch 2 promised a story, or at least a single player campaign of sorts, and then it just didn't deliver it. You know, what was it? Apex Legends, again, I think that's more lore based than it actually having a story. So on and so forth. You look at the most successful live service games, Rocket League, you know, all of these things, they, you know, even now I think Warhammer, is it? No, I'm thinking Warframe. Even Warframe doesn't really have a traditional story. You know, it may have story moments, but again, think about like God of War. That's a story of the style that I'm talking about. Single player, really focused, beginning, middle, and end. That and live service games, they have not worked together. So let's let that go. And if we're going to do live service games, let's just do more live service games like Helldivers, like Fortnite, like but all of the other Apex Legends, all the other successful ones. Not that I want you to create the same things that those things already are, but I do want you to just create something where the story is more of a premise or a flavor to kind of the narrative rather than being a big involving narrative in itself, because that just hasn't happened. Now, the only final thing I want to talk about now is the fact that exclusives are bad again. Oh, my Xbox community, my Xbox friends and peoples, brothers and sisters, how are we back here? I mean, wow. This is the one place I didn't want us to land back on, because the thing about the Xbox community is that they feel like Alan Wake stuck in a dark place. You know, it's a loop. They go around and then they started off at exclusives are bad at the beginning of the generation. You know, like when they came out and the Series X didn't have any new games, it was, we don't need exclusives. No, in fact, it wasn't just that it didn't have any new games, but it's that all of its exclusives were going to be cross-gen games. So it was like, we don't need exclusives, that's anti-consumer. You know, this new platform coming up with new games was going to lock people out of the old series and the old generation of Xbox One games. Why would we want that? We wouldn't want that. That's anti-consumer. It is great that Microsoft has promised that for the first 3 years or so, they were going to come up with cross-generation games. Fantastic. Yay. Oh, look, PlayStation is also doing the same, even though they had games that were exclusive from the get-go on the PS5. But we don't care about that because Miles Morales happened to be a cross-gen title. So, you know, we're just going to use that excuse. So it was exclusives are bad. It was basically that. Then they had no exclusives for a while. So that kind of reinforced the issue. But then the Bethesda purchase happened. And it was, you don't buy, you don't pay, you don't spend $7.6 billion to not have exclusives. So guess what? Exclusives were kind of good again. They were acceptable, they were desirable. In fact, they were the reason why we spent all that money. So of course Starfield should be exclusives. Of course Redfall should be exclusives. Outside of contractual obligations, all the Bethesda games should be exclusive to the Xbox platform, or we will allow for platforms where Game Pass exists, because that's what Phil Spencer told us. Exclusive Game Pass platform supported games. You know, it was like exclusive asterisk. Then the Activision Blizzard did happen, and it was exclusives are everything. Everything is exclusive now. Call of Duty, exclusive. Overwatch, exclusive. Crash Bandicoot, exclusive. Spyware, we don't know who owns it, make it exclusive. Rockstar, make that exclusive. Matter of fact, not only are exclusives good in and of themselves, but studios and publishers should be exclusive to us. That was the energy. Like, they literally, you feel the loop, right? You know, now we're down here. We're diametrically opposed to where we started. We started exclusives are bad. And now we went around 180 degrees and we are now exclusives are everything. They are life. It doesn't, we are going to kill Sony, destroy them with the power of our exclusives, sponsored by Daddy's Wallet. Then there were rumors, there were rumblings that Call of Duty wouldn't be made exclusive. And my goodness, we dragged, like, just moving to the next part, we dragged it. We went through like 2 years of FTC trials, and CMAD said regulator that. We turned into lawyers, we got 3 degrees. We went through hell to come up over here at this position, okay? And in this position, it was, we can't afford to make everything exclusive. That was it. This was it. This is the semicircle, but now it's 3/4 circle. But this part, this little quartet of a circle, okay? This little beautiful quartet of a circle. Ooh, we had to fight for that one. That was a grinder right there. Because when we started, exclusives are bad, and then we went to exclusives are kind of good after purchasing Bethesda, we were pretty happy. That was a pretty quick flip around. We went from whoop to whoop real quick. Then we bought Activision. Oh my goodness, man. The way that we fell, we didn't fall for this, we collapsed into this position. Exclusives are everything. It didn't matter if they were good or bad anymore. It was the fact that they were everything. But then, as the arduous months of FTC proceedings proceeded, we were just like, oh God. I guess Microsoft is one of the richest companies in the world. They are trillions of dollars, but somehow they cannot afford to make certain games exclusive. The pain that we felt. And you know what? I was okay here. Me personally, I'm talking about me, Emmanuel. I was okay at this point. I was okay for Xbox fans to be here at this tertiary position that they had. Is it tertiary? 1, 2, yeah. No, 1, 2, 3, 4th. Quaternary position. Brand new word for you. At this 4th position, I was quite happy. I was like, okay. So what we've decided is that exclusives are everything, but they're not everything, because we can make everything exclusive, but still there is that desire for things to be exclusive whenever they may be exclusive. So for example, a Call of Duty might not be exclusive, but should they make a new Tony Hawk game, boom, exclusive. Should they make a new Crash Bandicoot, boom, exclusive. Should they make a new Activision Bethesda IP, maybe they even merge the two, or maybe they create like, Starfield with good gameplay, boom, exclusive. Like that was kind of the idea. That was the world in which we were living, and I was comfortable there, because I believe exclusives are good, period. I believe exclusives are the lifeblood of these platforms. So it's not, I was never really in the circle, but I was kind of like outside, and this guy's kind of orbiting around, and I was happy. It was a good compromise overall as a PlayStation fan and fan of, reality and how things work in real life. But now we landed here. And this went on for many months, right? Because we did get the Activision Blizzard thing passed through the FTCs and everything. Congratulations on that, guys. Congratulations, by the way. I'm sorry that I laughed at you that one time. It's still funny to this day, but still, congratulations. You got that one over the line. And then rumors again. Oh my goodness. Xbox insiders, why are you so good yet so terrible for the brand? And those rumors, utter chaos. And the rumor was that Xbox was going to make certain games that were exclusive to the Xbox platforms, all platforms where Game Pass exists. They were going to make those games third party. Oh my goodness. Chaos ensued. In fact, chaos is still ensuing. The ensuement of chaos is still propagating to this day. It is still chaotic out there. So, where did we land there? Believe it or not, where is my circle? You know how the Destin Legary has a, his hand graph. I want the circle. I've got the pen circle. So we went right here, and then to get to the next part, do you know what the Xbox fans did? They jettisoned it. They left the circle completely. Do you know where they went? They went and they met me and other PlayStation fans. Now, exclusives are good. They are the lifeblood of the platform. Believe it or not, for 2 whole weeks, exclusives were what exclusives have always been. Great. Fantastic. Great differentiators of products between different platforms, different capabilities, different technologies, different philosophies, different budgets, different customers, different wants and needs, different populations. It was everything. It was just them. They just completely left their little circle where they were orbiting around this fact that Xbox doesn't deliver good exclusives. They left that dimension completely. A hard exit back to reality. And when they were here, even though they were in civil war, even though they were in turmoil, they were in chaos, even though they were all of that, I say, please, Xbox fans, do not leave this orbit. No matter what happens, whether the rumors are true or false, whether they are slightly true or completely exaggerated and hyperbolic, please do not leave this orbit anymore. Do not go back to where you were. Stay here. Stay grounded in reality. Exclusives are good. They don't need an asterisk. They don't need they are good, but the industry is moving away from it. Oh, they are good, but, that's what used to happen. Oh, they're just there to sell the plastic box. Why would you want to sell the plastic box? That is such an outdated model from the 1890s. No. I was like, please guys, stay here. Stay in reality. This is real and this is good. And even though you're going through a civil war and you guys are not sure where you will land as a community, stay within this orbit because you will be still way closer to reality than you've been for the last, at least since 2020. At least since 2020. I don't know how far to take it, but since 2020, you haven't been grounded in reality. You've been living in this other fake dimension where you are orbiting this small rock and you think it's going to give you life, but you don't realize that it is a dead rock. It's just a floating rock. It has no minerals on it. It has no water. It has no ice. It has no properties to give you life or to sustain you or to give you light so you can grow your plants. You were orbiting this dead object in the sky simply because owners, I don't know, some false prophet told you that somehow it was going to burst with light and give you 72 virgins. I don't know. But now you are back in the solar system. You are with us, grounded in astrophysics, in reality. And I thought you would stay. I really did. Incidentally, I've realized that my wish for Phil Spencer to be fired is never going to happen. I'm sorry. Phil Spencer is never going to be fired. I thought you would stay. I thought you would stay here with the rest of us, knowing that exclusives are good. That's it. They don't even need to be... Like, somehow, I feel like in defense of exclusives, we overblow their proportion. Sometimes a valid criticism that I've heard many people say, especially Doc Dark, is that PlayStation fans act as if exclusives are the most important thing. They're not. They're not the most important thing to the company. They're not the most important thing to the customer. but they are an important thing, and they are, most importantly, the differentiator. And that matters so much, man. You know the analogy that I have for exclusive games? It's like this. If you wanted to buy a house, right? Which are the rooms that you care about the most? The bedrooms, the bathrooms, the living rooms, the kitchen. These are the 4 rooms, broadly speaking, that you care about the most because you will use them the most. And they are also the most common rooms across all houses, right? Different houses have better versions of each, whatever, it doesn't matter. These are third-party games. That's what third-party games are, okay? But exclusives, what is that? Well, that's the home gym. That's the pool. That's the home cinema. You know, that is, you know, the Zen garden. The point is this. A person that wants to purchase a house will want the main body of the living room, the kitchen, the chairs, the kitchen, the dining room, the bedrooms, the bathrooms. They want that. Of course they do. But if they have the budget to allow it, they might want a special room that serves a function that not everybody else is going to be looking for. That's what the exclusives are for, man. God of War Ragnarok serves a function that not everybody will be looking for, man. Not everybody wants to be into like this mythologically based game, like single player narrative story. Not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants GT7 and be a racer, especially not a sim racer. Not everybody wants a Spider-Man and be a superhero. You know, not everybody wants a Horizon and be in a huge sci-fi world with dinosaur robots. But if you as a real estate agency can offer your customers houses that feature 1 or 2 of these, there's a good chance that they will come to you because you offer products that have unique properties. That's fine. That's what exclusives are. It's important because it's a differentiator, but it's not more important than a living room. No person is going to be like, oh my God, I want a house with a Zen garden. But yeah, the roof on top of the bedroom, yeah, that's caving in. No one's going to buy that house. No one. Unless you're in Melbourne and there's like no other option for buying a home. It's a whole thing. But yeah, in any case. First party games are not the most important. From a revenue perspective, they do not generate the most revenue. From a customer perspective or a gamer perspective, they are not the most played games by a long shot. They are played and they generate revenue, but not the most. But from a purchasing decision, they might still be one of the most influential things that a person has because they happen to be that special property. Because if your significant other or yourself really wants a house with a swimming pool and you've been dreaming your entire life about a house with a swimming pool, which I don't know why you want a house with a swimming pool, but that's your thing and you're into swimming pools, and you have the budget to afford a house with a swimming pool in the area where you want that house with a swimming pool, you're not going to accept a house that doesn't have a swimming pool. That's it, that's all. That's really it. Because if a guy or a girl or a boy or a woman wants to really play Spider-Man, they're going to buy the console with Spider-Man. That's it. It doesn't matter if their friends are playing Fortnite most of the time. It doesn't matter if they mostly play Call of Duty. If they want to play Spider-Man, they're going to buy that one that has Spider-Man on it. And if the other one doesn't have Spider-Man on it, they're not going to buy that one. They're not going to consider it. That's what differentiator is. It matters because it differentiates. It doesn't matter because it's the most played or the most bought or the most time spent with or the most whatever. It doesn't have to be that. Just like, again, if you were to buy a house with a Zen garden, you're not going to spend anything more than like 2 or 3% of your time in a year in that Zen garden, unless you are like really specific type of individual. But most customers are not, and they're not going to spend most of the time with that Zen garden. But guess what? That house with the Zen garden, the people that buy it, when you ask them, why did you buy this? They're going to tell you, oh, it has a nice kitchen. It has a nice bedroom. It has a lovely bathroom, you know, and it has all of these things. But you know what really sold us the sugar on top? The cookie on top of the cream. What would you put cookie on top of the cream? The cookie on top of the cream. We are going to commit. That's what we do here. That was the Zen garden. That's what sold them on their house. That's what differentiated it from every other house, and that's what they loved about it, and that's why they bought that house. So that's it. Exclusives are bad now, though, because that's what the Xbox community did. They left us, guys. They did. They went back to the circle, and they went full circle. Exclusives are bad again. And now they are doing part 2 of their little opera, because this is a loop. Once they land on a spot, you know what they do immediately? Number one, they hide behind the shield of the industry. Even though, as far as consoles go, there's only 3 players in this industry, and the other 2, which are more successful than the ones that they follow, are not doing what they say that they are doing. But then, most importantly, they look to PlayStation for validation. And I don't want to get into the whole topic about how Hiroki Totoki said one thing and then they misconstrued it and they tried to twist it into something that it wasn't, because it's just sad at this point, and it makes me sad and it makes you sad, and the video is already long enough. But Xbox fans, I am disappointed that we are now back again that exclusives are bad. Exclusives are not bad. They've never been bad. Exclusives are good. Exclusives are really good. And finally, to my friend Doc Dark, you called me out the other day, so I guess I have to call you out. And one question that you keep arguing, you keep asking, you keep saying, and I'm so tired of hearing it, is how are exclusives good for the gamer? And let me just answer it right away with that preamble. Exclusives are good for the PlayStation gamer, okay, because this is something that I know happens in PlayStation games, because they give you features that other people don't. For example, we would say that more options is good for the gamer, right? Like more performance options is good for the gamer. PlayStation is the only PlayStation Studios are the only ones that typically give you like a balance mode where you can play at 40 FPS, or you can play with VRR and high frame rate, and you can combine that in order to unlock fidelity mode, balance mode, or performance modes in the games. So if you take a look at God of War Ragnarok, there's unlock modes there and unlock frame rates there that are happening only with PlayStation Studio games. So in that case, that's how it's good for you as a gamer. It gives you more options. That's what PlayStation delivers for you. Obviously, Xbox isn't doing that. That's not my fault. You should ask the same from Xbox. Nintendo isn't doing that. That's not my fault. You should ask the same from Nintendo. But guess what? When the next PlayStation Studios major title from Naughty Dog comes, or Ghost of Tsushima, or Ben Studio, or whatever else they have cooking up, when it comes from the first party studios, I'm going to ask them to have a balance mode. I'm going to ask them to have VRR modes that unlock the frame rate. I'm going to ask them to combine the technologies in my TV, including high frame rate that can go all the way to 120 FPS. That's how it makes it better as a gamer. That's just one example. I could talk about the DualSense and everything else, but many other studios that are not first party use the DualSense. But I don't think any other studio that is not a first party Sony studio has actually used like a balance mode with any measure of success. I think Shift Up with Stellar Blade is going to offer that balance mode. So again, it's a first party game, but it's not a first party studio. But the point is, as a first party game, it is an exclusive, and as a PlayStation gamer, I receive the benefit from it being exclusives and having more performance options for the game as a very base level. So that's just a very quick answer to your question, because you keep thinking that it's a gotcha, and it's not a gotcha. And the annoying thing about this whole exclusives is bad conversation is that we never say this. We never say this with any other industry. Like, why don't we look around at any other industry? You do not go to a McDonald's and receive a Big Mac. Like, people always say like, oh, well, Sony will make more money if they release day and date on PC. Well, okay, I guess by that logic, McDonald's will make more money if they just release their burger recipe to KFC. Or if KFC release their 7 secrets recipes or whatever, why don't they just give that to McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, and everybody else, and just sell their chicken there or pay licensing fees, I'm pretty sure Coca-Cola and who is it? And I think McDonald's, they have even a special flavor, I think, for one of those businesses. Like Coca-Cola makes a special flavor of Coke that can only be bought at McDonald's. Something like that. I might be getting that wrong. Or was it Pepsi and 7-Eleven? But the point is, even these drink companies, they know that they make more money by selling a special flavor or the stuff unique to a particular store. That's it. Like, like, of course, Coca-Cola will make more money if they released it everywhere else. You would think in theory, right? But in reality, exclusives are a big draw. There are some people that refuse to have Pepsi or refuse to have Coke, and they will only have one or the other. And that makes them buying decision for them. That is what it is. You know, we do not ask Mercedes to sell their cars at every Toyota dealership, right? Like it's so silly, because in every other industry, in every other thing that we can buy, we understand that you're only getting this technology, you're only getting this product, you're only getting this package, you're only getting this value proposition from this particular place. You know, like, even like a service, like a photographer like myself, if you come to me and you're like, hey, can I have, you know, full access to your creative process or whatever, there's a good chance that I will either charge you a lot of money for it, or I will just outright say no. And there's many other, you know, like, exclusivity is the thing that drives desirability. You take a look at like Hermes bags or something like that. Why don't they just sell them at like a Target? They will reach more people. But again, they understand that their branding and their exclusivity is a big part of the desirability. And yes, it is beneficial for you when you go to a particular dealership, for example, for your car, whether that's Hyundai or anybody else. And then you know that at that dealership, the people are trained in the knowledge of that product. If a particular dealership had to handle 100 different brands, none of the staff could become an expert in the particular car that you decide to buy from there. If one dealership was a mega dealership and it could handle like Acura and Nissan and Hyundai and Rolls-Royce and Toyota and it's 70 other brands, and you buy an Alfa Romeo from them and then you take that car back for servicing, there's a good chance the mechanics don't know what to do with your particular model. If you go to an Alfa Romeo dealership, they may sell 10 cars. They may have 50 cars that they work on regularly as part of different models and different years and different ranges or whatever. But the point is, they become experts at the particular product that you bought. That's how you benefit from it being exclusive to that one physical location or to that one particular chain or dealership or network, whatever it is. Exclusives are good. There's a reason that they are everywhere. Like, it's such a pitiful argument to still be having with adults. Okay, I'm done.